Good evening, everybody, or morning or afternoon, whatever it is in your time zone. Hello, and welcome to Alpha's Alpha, my very own podcast. And this is the first episode. We will be having a really fun conversation, although I might not want to reveal what it is about yet, but I can guarantee it's going to be fun, maybe a little crazy here and there, but hey, that's why we're here. I like to talk a lot and I like to be cynical. So maybe we'll have a little bit of negativity here and there too. Just say it. um, but this will be our very first and definitely not our last conversation. I am a very crypto focused person, so we'll have a little bit of a crypto talk here and there, maybe non-tech for a bit, but yeah, I look forward to what we'll be talking about tonight. On that note, we will be having a conversation about marketing. I was going to say Web3 marketing, but someone told me that maybe we shouldn't call it that. We should just call it marketing because unfortunately, Web3 is basically wrapped with AWS, as like we learned yesterday when 90% of crypto just went down suddenly because, well, AWS was like, we got a few hiccups, so we'll just disable Web3 for a bit. No worries. But maybe we'll see some cool Web3 tech, some blockchain tech that will be able to fix that issue. I do believe there are alternatives. It's just that people might be a little too lazy to use that. You see, I see there's going to be some negativity here and there. Maybe I'm just a little too cynical sometimes. But on that note, I think I have a lineup of quite a few people with very different backgrounds in crypto, in just normal Web2 things. And I think they're going to bring some really cool perspectives of all different kinds of things tonight. And I look forward to it. Nexus says, I was told this would be zero FUD and I need to be 100% positive. Are you telling me I get to FUD? Of course. You know, the only thing that I believe in is FUD. The more you FUD, the better it is. I'm joking. That is terrible. We need to have a little positivity in life, but they do say disagreements make things better. And unfortunately, crypto has become quite a bit of an echo chamber. So we need to get out there, disagree with people, have a little bit of a, you say this, but I say this. And that's the only way to make things better at the end of the day. So full rant engage. Yes. Please bring the rant. Bring it. I'm here for it. Fight machine. Yes, sir. I tend to get a little fuddy here and there. But I also do like to agree with people on things. So, you know, it might be a little bit of positivity. Shocking. I know. But I think maybe that's a little too much monologuing. I will be bringing on our first guest, a longtime friend of mine, someone that I've had quite a lot of conversations with. I think I've spent roughly 100 hours in the last year alone just talking to her on like just like throwing ideas at her and I'll be like, yeah, no, that's cool. Okay, what about this? What about that? So I'm very excited to bring on Smiley, or Smiley Girl as
Hi.
everyone else would know.
Hello, Alpha.
Hello,
It's so great
Smiley.
to
How are
be
you doing
here.
tonight?
I'm
Yeah.
good, thank you. Yeah, and I miss you. Unfortunately, we haven't been in Fight Club. If anybody doesn't know, we used to hang out in this one channel together that we called Fight Club, and we just pass around ideas and talk about whatever was going on. It was a lot of fun. So, yeah, I missed you.
The-
It was great to be here.
I've missed you too. Like, if I said that we used to talk, I mean, we could sometimes start talking maybe at like your time, my time would be like 4 p.m. and it's like, I don't know, like 8 a.m. for you. And then we'd like talk for like 4 hours straight, just
I
throwing
know.
ideas at each other and be like, whoa, what about this? And we just like, okay, we agree on this, we disagree on that. It's really good to be able to bounce ideas of other people, especially your friends. And Smiley is one of my best friends, might
Thank
even be
you.
my best friend in the space. I'm not very good at those kinds of things. So, you know.
No, I think you're better than you think. And I think as people listen to you, they're going to see how much you have to offer. So I'm happy you're here.
I would hope so. Oh, Vadia says you don't talk about Fight Club. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna
I
talk
didn't
about
mention it.
Fight Club, Fight Club.
It wasn't me. I promise. I promise it wasn't me. And
Come
Nexus says
at
it's
me.
only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything. I absolutely
You
agree
do,
on that.
true.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Serenity says we're in trouble. I rebuke it. I rebuke the notion that we could ever be in trouble.
That's kind of what you're looking for, right?
How you know? Hey, don't tell my
Yeah, I
secrets,
knew.
please. Please keep my secrets a little secret. I do want to start off also on a question. So
Okay.
in Web3, okay, just saying everything, there's always marketing, right? So projects, companies, whether it's traditional fi, TradFi, or whether it's Web3, whether it's a blockchain thing, you have to kind of market to get new users. So you have to put yourself out there, do ads, and I don't know, like ad reads or whatever it is people do. I don't really know all the specifics. What would you like? What comes to mind first to you in terms of like Web3 marketing? What's the first thing that you can think of is that a project would do to get new users, to get that initial users, as we call user acquisition? And does it work to keep them retained, user retention?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I came on tonight totally thinking, I'm going to tell you that hype is dead and that's not effective. And then we see Base today launching their meme, goes to 14 million market cap. And then what the heck did it totally rug? I don't know. But I didn't really think there were going to be that many people who were going to hop on that one token. So I guess hype still does work to an extent. I guess it depends on who's hyping it. But I was really going to focus on being genuine and being real. I think that's what people are looking for. Also, I think that if you want to move outside your circle, outside your sphere of influence, you really need to talk to people. Don't just say, hey, we have this amazing product. Tell them what it does. Show them what it does. Show people why they should care, why they should invest, how it can help them. So that would be my first point,
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay. You bring some interesting topics. So you say hype isn't dead. Hype can still bring a lot of attention to projects, Base launching a token. That's another catastrophe. I don't think we need to get in yet. And just going parabolic instantly, like that's cool and all. But then you also say it's also about being authentic, being genuine, actually creating connections. I think that's really interesting perspectives. I can agree that to an extent, hype isn't dead. Hype still works. It does bring that sort of new people, new users. It gets you attention, it gets you eyeballs, it gets you a little bit of 5 seconds of fame, I would put it. And that's just how I see it. I think like hype is 5 seconds of fame and then you're over. But
you got a short attention span that you've got to appeal to. People are scrolling super fast. You got to catch their attention. How are you going to do it? It's hard.
True. People do have a very short attention span now, and that's likely because of things like TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and everyone's just like, now 30 seconds. Anything more than that, I'm not watching. Screw that.
Well, look at it, being in Monstro. Both were in Monstro. Both encountered how many times people would say, oh, I don't have time to read the white paper. Okay, there you've got the proof. You've got something to show them what we're offering. They don't want to look at that. And so now you have to get creative. You have to figure out, how are we going to show them what we have? How are we going to get our message across? And it's challenging. It's not, the same old, here's 20 pages of techno speak, read through it, and then ask me a question. It's not really working the way it used to.
I like to say people in crypto are very, what's the term? I keep forgetting the term. They are illiterate. There we go. They can't seem to read for the life of them. But maybe I'm just being a little too negative. I think we might have to ask Our good friend, oh, he's looking away. Serenity, what he has to say
Asa!
about
Hey, Serenity.
I just turn off my miner. It's like, oh man, that's still running in the background. Oops.
Whoa, that could have been problematic.
Exactly. That's what I thought about. So I'm sorry, Mister. What was the question? I forgot. It's been like over 30 seconds.
Whoa, you see the attention span of a, I think they used to say a goldfish, but they discovered goldfish actually have a good attention span. I'm not going to get into that.
How we doing, guys?
Asking. We're doing good. At least I know I'm doing good.
I'm great.
How are you doing?
Excellent. I'm here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm very
Congratulations
glad
on your premiere debut, buddy. This is awesome. I'm excited to be here.
I know. You better be excited. Otherwise, I'd kick you off, you know? I'm joking. I'm not that evil. Probably.
I am, but that's okay.
He's a little evil.
I saw you telling people you're going to sneak backstage. I was like, how do I prevent that? I'm kidding. I'll never stop you from joining.
Could be challenging. But I would
Probably.
only crash your party when invited. You know, I was still gonna have that respect, even though I could get into crashing. Nah, I won't do that, brother.
Yeah.
But you know, you talk
Maybe
about the
not.
hype and stuff, and a lot of
Yes.
people. I personally think that a lot of people are focused on, well, is hype good or is this good or build community? But the real question is, why does hype work? The problem is most people right now are barely surviving. They're all looking for that golden ticket. They're all looking for some way to get ahead. And with the way the markets are, with everything going on in the world, people are more desperate than ever before. That's why scams work. That's why people are willing to take these risks. They don't think they have anything to lose. Like, let's just go all in. I mean, I've only got $10. What have I got to lose? But I think that's why the hype does work so well, is because people are so desperate. Not saying it's the best way. The problem is, just like social media, things like that, we have to get their attention. And you've got to do that in a very in-your-face kind of hype mentality. Otherwise, they're going to scroll right by. I know I put out videos that walk them through step-by-step. Hey, here's how you take an old computer and set up 15 different crypto opportunities. And they'll watch like 3 minutes. Like, dude, seriously? Come on. Then they turn around and they ask me questions that I already explained in the video in the description. Like, hey, by the way, how do you do this? Like, oh, go to 27 minutes and 12 seconds. There's a step-by-step process. Oh, okay, thanks. I mean, I have to watch it. Can you just tell me? But I think that's really what it comes down to, is the fact that people are desperate. People are hurting and they need to find something. And it doesn't help. You see these news articles about like the trucker who invested, $670 in Doge and retired like 2.4 million or some crazy amount 3 months later. Everybody wants that win.
True. That makes a lot of sense. Although I see Vedas did mention something interesting. My favorite are the ones who pop up and say, I just put in XXX amount, so what is this thing? I think that kind of drives home that hype point. You know, a lot of people tend to use, I've invested this amount and I've made this amount, so this is why you should take note of me, and this is why you should look at this. And I wonder, does it actually work? Does it really help anyone at the end of the day? I would honestly say no, because half of the time those people are scammers. I'm not attacking anyone, I promise. But
Wait.
It raises an interesting question. Oh, I think Nix has actually put it quite well. What is the half-life of a meme on the internet? What is that half-life? And I think we've seen that pretty well. With Base launching a token recently, I want to keep going back to it, but it's just so relevant right now. They launched a token, they spoke about it, they posted it on their X, and people like jumped into it, threw their life savings at it. It pumped from like 0 to 14 million instantly, and then immediately crashed 90%, 99%, something like that. I mean, we've seen a few charts like that recently, but I digress. So it's like, what is the half-life of that? 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? It just came and went before you could even blink. That's kind of what we're living in right now. That's what we see. Hype kind of works, but it goes away like that. It's a year and gone instantly. So, but then I suppose if we stop focusing on that a bit and we take a look at another thing that Smiley mentioned, which is authenticity. And I know someone other than Serenity now, myself and Smiley, of course, that is extremely authentic and tends to always deliver on his promises. He's also the kind of person where you can ask him a question in an AMA and he's going to come back an hour later and answer everything that anyone has asked. I've seen him do it, so I'm not just pulling this out of my ass. He's done this multiple times, and I respect him for it.
Wait, were you pulling V out of?
That just got weird.
He says lies, and that would be someone that I've worked with now for what, a year, 2 years? Flip, it's been a long time. OX Various from Monstro. Now, I don't know if you want to mention anything on hype or how that is. I know you have quite a bit of experience with marketing, especially, but if we're just looking at the authenticity, the quality of things, like, would you say that actually drives engagement? Does it bring those users? Does it actually, in a sense, work?
Well, it works to draw people in. Unfortunately, in our space and in many industries too, like, I've worked in many of them. Oh, I think everything's frozen.
No,
everything's frozen for me.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just you. I see you are frozen for it, but but we can still hear you. So please
hear me.
continue.
Okay. I don't need to see myself. Yeah, so it is unfortunately very much a follow the leader game, and the leaders are all in very small circles and cliques, if you want to call them that. And you're basically being abused by them repeatedly, and you just keep coming back and wanting more. And even all of us here have probably done it, right? We've all fallen for hype on different things and projects, and it's very disappointing to me that it's still that way, becoming more that way as opposed to less. And it is all about who you know, not what you can do, not what you can build. And I know that's a very depressing, cynical take, but it's really, really true. I've seen some people build amazing games, amazing things. They've tried to spend money on marketing, but if it's not the person who's the flavor of the week influencer talking about it, they're not getting, anyone. No one cares, essentially. I won't say no one. There's always grassroots, smaller operations, but on a mass scale, yeah, that's the way the world works, and it's very unfortunate.
Okay. You brought up an interesting part there also. The flavor of the week influencer. So that kind of brings another thing in. A lot of crypto marketing, I know I'm still using the term, but it is irrelevant. People understand that term, But a lot of crypto marketing is heavily revolved around influencers and who is kind of hot right now, who is actually bringing attention, and that might not be the same person every day. It might be a different person to now, and then later it's like someone completely different. So that kind of has a really big influence on whether or not the project gets seen, no matter how good the product actually is. Now, you also mentioned something about games, and I know you yourself have been involved with quite a few things on the gaming front, and unfortunately, the marketing hasn't done as well as you would have liked. So I think you speak a little bit from experience there.
There I wouldn't count any of that, because we never got to the point to actually market things for them. So, those were games that got stuck in development due to funding and bear market and other issues. So I wouldn't use those as examples for marketing, because we actually spent $0 on marketing. So I can't complain about it failing if we actually didn't try.
Okay.
So,
True.
Yeah, that I wouldn't count. But we've had clients, we've had a lot of people we've worked with or just seen as friends in the space or partners who have spent a lot of resources, time, money, effort on really high quality products, or even AAA level games. And no, if they're not the pick that some of these groups want to promote, usually these groups don't want to promote it because they're not getting enough of a piece. So whether it's tokens, whether it's just upfront money, if it's not to their liking, they know there's another, I'm going to call them sucker out there, who will pay. And especially when the bull market's on, we saw NFT mint, people were charging like 50 ETH up front for one tweet, and people were paying because if they did so, they knew they were going to sell out in a day, on some of those months when things were hot, and they knew they were going to be able to recoup it. But obviously that's lost. I think a lot of that power has been lost over the bear market, where now a lot of people still have tried. Prices, funny enough, have not come down too much from these influencers. Results have plummeted just like the market 90%. So it's something where they're refusing to budge on their ability to work with people and pricing. And some people are still paying it thinking, oh, well, maybe I'm going to be able to get that $1 million sale in a day or, whatever it is. And they're just not getting it. And the last part on that I'll comment is this shows the attitude of people out there. We had a project we were going to launch. For that one, we had VCs involved. It was called Block Refer. And it was going to be a Web3 affiliate platform. And part of the reason we shelved it, we had some advisors on it who had launched very successful protocols, projects. Even a guy who launched one of the most popular mobile games ever called Heads Up. So he was on the team for it. And yeah, these guys were well connected, right? Everything looked good. The part that was the downfall was we reached out, and they reached out through VCs and through other people to all these different influencers to be part of the onboarding at the start. And none of them wanted to do it because they know that everything would be tracked. And part of the platform's ability was to basically show if they're worth their money, right? And none of them wanted this because they know for a fact they're not going to be worth the money they're charging. And some of them actually straight up said that. They said, no, you're going to ruin my business and I'll never be able to charge this again. So I'll leave it at that. Wow. As far as that's the attitude of such folks. So.
Wow. That is quite an interesting take. Do wonder, Smile Your Serenity, do you have anything to add on to that? Or anything that you'd say, just a thought that crossed your mind?
I was just thinking, though, just spending the last maybe year in DeepN, it was a great community because there's a lot of collaboration among the multiple projects and teams. There's a lot of group AMAs. There's a lot of, just sharing the knowledge among each other and then bringing community together, which was great. However, we had these discussions where we're not moving beyond Web3. We're not reaching anyone outside of our little insular circle. How do we reach those people? And that has always been a challenge. And I remember a conversation I had with Scott Fu. If you don't know him, he used to be the representative for Peak. And he said one of the challenges is he thinks that what's hurting everyone is calling ourselves Web3 or DeepN or DeFi or DeSci. All of these little terms kind of signal to people that this is not for me. This is not something I should be invested in or interested in. It's something, too techy, too isolated, too niche, I guess. And so I've always had just, a heart for newbies, people who are curious, people who are interested. I actually was at an event during ETH Denver where a guy came in from Warner Music. I think I talked about this on Freaky Friday. And he's like, what is this? And I said, oh, well, it's a DeepN dinner. And he's like, what's that? I don't even know what any of this is. And I'm like, you are in the right place. Come in, because these are the people that we want to reach, people who are curious, because I think people have a natural curiosity for what we're doing and developing and building. But if you can't reach them, you can't talk to them. If you keep it all, techno speak, and just very buzzwords, people, coming in off the street aren't going to know what Zeek and Sync is. You got to tell them and show them what you're building. What does it mean? What are you growing? And just kind of walk them through the process. And that's challenging. It takes time. It takes money. It takes energy. So that's my thought.
Okay. That's interesting. You also brought up something that's just as relevant. We use a lot of jargon, I would say, especially when you come from different tech backgrounds. You have different ways of mentioning things, you have different ways of speaking of things, but jargon isolates you. Jargon isolates people from what you're talking about. So if you go to talk to someone and you're like, oh yeah, I saw this cool DeepN project, they're going to be like, what the is DeepN? And then you're stuck in this spot where now you're talking about something that's really cool that might be relevant to them, but because you just mentioned this term that they don't understand, you immediately isolate them from the conversation. People's brain tend to switch off as soon as they find something that's unfamiliar to them, and they won't have an understanding unless they ask you about it explicitly. They don't want to do that because it's like they're going to feel like they're an idiot. But I also saw Serenity nodding quite along to a lot of what you were saying, Smiley. So I do want to hear what you have to add on Serenity.
Oh, wow. I could go all kinds of directions on this. And there's so many angles to this question because it's a great one. It's Smiley. You brought up some good ones. And so did Various. So let's go through it. First of all, let's talk about the influencers, okay? Because I am an influencer. Straight up, this is my full-time job. In fact, I got a call today asking me to come back to work as an electrician, making over $50 an hour. It's like, no, I really want to do this because I want to help people learn. Well, here's the trick, though. Like you guys are saying, we're a isolated community. So if we put out videos and content that is made to go to those community members, they don't want the basics. They don't want it drawn out for them. They want, okay, give me the quick and short. How much does it cost? How much can I get back? And how quick an ROI? That's it. I don't care about anything else. And so I've personally found that when I make a lot of the videos, which I aim towards new people, they don't get much attraction. I get a few people in and we get a few new names, a few new people in the community, but the people already here really don't care. That's where they're going to go watch some of these bigger influencers that just keep throwing out every 2-3 days, a new video. Hey, a new deep-in device, a new this, a new that, a new that. The problem is most of those influencers were here during the last bull cycle. Over the bear, they kind of went quiet, still put a few things out, but there's already those rumors like, oh, look, he's shilling another thing he's going to sell 100 of and make the money, and he doesn't care. I actually saw one influencer yesterday. Said, yeah, man, you really got to get one of these. These are great. You can get them on sale. Here's my discount code. And somebody asked him, said, how does it work? He's like, well, I don't know. I don't have one. I'm like, dude, seriously? Why would you even do that? But that's kind of the way those hype influencers are. They're there just to make a quick buck, get in, get out, get gone. And even if that's at the expense of the community, because a lot of those influencers, they're taking payments in that project's token. What do you think they're going to do? That's a payday to them. They're going to cash it out. So this leads into a lot of slippery slopes as an influencer. But at the same time, that's how you get your views. That's how you get your numbers up so quickly, is by playing their game. Now, personally, for me and Down Home Crypto, I've always been about, no, I'm dedicated to the working class people who are saving $20-$50 or whatever, taking that nest egg they got, like, okay, I'm going to give this a go. I need some help. I need to know what it does. So that's who I very much try to aim for. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to grow as fast. And I get that. I'm willing to do that because my vision is to help the working class people that are desperate and need that, hold their hand and walk them step by step through it. And on top of that, I will only promote things that I personally run. And I've had turned down several projects. Say, hey, you want to send me a device? I'll give it a rating and I'll decide whether it's good or not. And if not, I'm not doing it. And they're like, well, we can't just do that. Like, well, then I can't help you, man. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. Like, can't you just, we'll give you a discount code. You'll make 20%. It'll be great. Nah, thanks. I'll pass. So there's a lot of pieces involved in that. And I think influencers are just as guilty as the media, the news and stuff about pushing all these hype and building it when they don't have understanding or belief in the project that they're hyping out there.
But can I add on to that, Serenity? Total kudos to you, because you are legit and you aren't going to back anything that you don't believe in, that you haven't tested and tried out. But there's so many people out there, they're like, I have $20. I can drop this on a meme coin and maybe make $1 million, or I can invest it and I have to wait and wait and wait. And they don't realize that if you look at that $20 at the end of the year, they're much more likely to have some kind of increased profit than if they dropped it in a meme coin and lost it all. But they've got that whole mindset of hopium, I might make it big, instead of, hey, let me invest for my future and let me grow this. It's hard to fight. Yeah.
At the same time, I mean, you got to think about it. If you only have $20 and you do make, let's say you triple your investment in a year, which is awesome in any field, what are you really going to do with $60? Buy 3 hamburgers? Like, it's not going to do that.
What kind of hamburgers are you eating, V?
That's so weird. But yeah,
The very expensive
very
one.
understandable to me. The same reason people buy their lottery tickets, which have even worse odds, I feel, than a lot of the opportunities in crypto. So anyone with $20, yeah, I'd say go for the home run swing. There's not much you're going to do with a 2x or 3x in a year. It's the old thing about you got to create the wealth first, and then you go into more solid, proper, I would say comparable to traditional earnings, still better, because I believe crypto has a lot of better opportunities. You know, for even a 30% APR, if it's not on a large sum of money, it's not going to do anything for you. Like, you're not even going to catch up with inflation at, you know, the way we're going. So
True.
Sure.
That's
But at the same time,
okay.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, said anything.
Well, I was going to say, you know, but at the same time, Various is, you know, I've really tried to teach people, like, you know what, it may only be $10 or $20, but you keep putting that away, especially right now where everything is down. You go into something, a native blockchain token that you know is going to do a 5 or 10x in probably the next year, realistically. You know, that can add up. So then we start teaching DCAing, things like that. And I think that really helps get that mindset away from the whole gamble, like the scratch ticket or anything like that, and trying to battle the memes. And it's a tough battle. And I can't say I've won or I am winning in any way, because I still do it from time to time. I'm not going to lie, man. I'm just as guilty as everybody. But at some point in time, somebody has to say, hey, there's a better way. And it may not be a lot, but at least it puts them on the path to building true life-changing wealth over time.
yeah, I mean, if you're teaching them, if they're able to put, let's say, $10 every week in, that's a different thing. If they put $10 once, then hope in a year they'll be rich. They can't do
Good
much.
point.
Actually, we have someone that's in the audience that buys $10 of Bitcoin every day. BTK. He has not touched anything except Bitcoin, and mad respect, yo. Whoa, it's like there's so many things out there. It's like, and this guy is just like, you know what? Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. That's really cool. That's really cool. And I mean, yeah, there's it. 631 NJ. Yeah, that guy. He's BTK. So that's really cool too. But I think we do need to move along a little bit. And maybe I think we can bring on something that's a little more interesting. So, I mean, everything's interesting. Yeah, we're having a talk about marketing after all. What could be more interesting? So I want to bring on Nexus for this one, actually. Nexus is a longtime friend of mine. Also, I've had many conversations with him about various different things, and we've had a lot of disagreements. That's just how it is with us. So, I mean, that's kind of how we got to do things. We have to have a little disagreements. Now, unfortunately for Nexus, he's going to have to be a little positive on this, because he's going to have to speak about what the perks are. But I would like to know, I've seen a lot of this term recently called mindshare, and does it really affect anything in terms of marketing? Does it actually how do I say, like, bring attention to projects? This mindshare metric that we've seen a lot of. I know I've seen one thing, what was it, Wayfinder had like 90% mindshare or something like that, because everyone on X and everyone who's your grandmother was talking about it. Does it actually matter?
It's a great question. It's an important question. And it does wrap in a spiral right back around to the meme coin half-life, because all of this is a measurement of attention. Meme coin markets are metrics of attention towards an idea, often a joke idea. Like I've described it to normal people who ask me, like, what is a meme coin? My answer has often been, it's a joke that's been crypto monetized. So you can almost gauge the financial value of a gag, a prank even. What's the financial value of a prank? Well, according to YouTube, for a long time, the financial value of a prank was millions and millions and millions of views and dollars for prank channels who would basically commit what I consider a form of financial abuse on their families. And that's not a positive thing. But in the recent years, the positive news I have for you on that is that we've got great strides being made in trying to hold these families and these influencers accountable for very, very, very bad monetized internet behavior. And it's happening more, and there's going to be less of it, because the incentives to behave like this are going to go the way of the dodo.
Interesting. Okay. That's also another thing that we can look at. Meme coins has basically taken over all of crypto marketing in a sense. Like, it feels like unless you have some kind of new coin, and most of the time a meme coin, you don't get any attention, which is, I don't know, maybe anyone here disagrees with that, or if you agree, I would like to understand why. Maybe we can start with Vedas, because I know Vedas loves meme coins.
I don't bother with any of them for the most part, but
That's why we love you, berries.
I think why they're popular is explained perfectly by the movie Idiocracy. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's simply a look 500 years into our future. It came out in 2006 or 96, somewhere around there. And it's been very accurate, portraying that the whole concept of only stupid people are breeding. So as we go along,
The idiocracy theory.
yeah, just gets dumber and dumber. And for example, the most popular TV show in the future is a show called Ow My Balls, where it's just people being hit in the balls. And we're very close to that stage of society. Now, the best part is their president, it's all about celebrity status too. It's Terry Crews, right, as a kind of an over-the-top wrestling character type president, and they solve things with monster truck fights and whatnot. So
I don't even think Mike Judge could have visualized what Pump Fun would become. Like $50, I'll do something crazy. Market cap 220,000. I'll take off my shirt. Like just like it's gotten so bad that Charlie Brooker's first episode of the latest series of Black Mirror is on that very idea. Like, where this goes.
yeah, I just watched the new Black Mirror, so very timely.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I haven't
very
watched
timely,
Black
very
Mirror,
fresh.
so don't stop spoiling it, please.
No, there's no spoilers.
I would
That's
actually like to
it's
enjoy
the premise. That's just the premise of this latest is that a construction worker who's down on his luck encounters this website that encourages people to do degenerate things for money on live video. And that's the premise. And it's the implementation is Web 2. So it's actually not crypto, but honestly, a lot of people in crypto watched it and said, "Oh, that's Pump Fun."
Pump Fun. Yep.
Fun live
Yep. Yep. Absolutely agree. That really has been what crypto evolved to recently. However, I'm very glad that Pump Fun has gradually lost its attention. You know, people have moved away from it. We've seen
Less
a
and less
little more of
coins
this
spawned every day.
Kaito and
Yep.
and Wayfinder. Anyway, weird things.
Yeah, toilet I saw today.
What?
Yeah, that was the latest token.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
I can
that's
barely keep
cool.
up with the failures of the old tokens like Mantra, let alone today's failures.
Oh yeah. We've had a very interesting week this past week in crypto.
You know what, though? It's bad that even with memes, they can't put effort to just do a little something different. Like, I did a long time ago, for example, if you were doing one, let's use Ninja Turtles as an example, right? You would drop first, and then there would be little breadcrumbs and even clues maybe in the smart contract, things that would lead you to eventually a totally separate token called RAF, and eventually done. And at some point, if you have enough of them, right, once the supply is gone, you have to burn like all 4 types to get Splinter or Strip. Like, you can just do games.
You could have done do fun stuff. That's cool. That's creative. That's interesting and novel.
Everyone is a copycat. Like, not everyone. Every time I say everyone, I mean like 98% of people will use that as a default. But
it was the same thing on ETH 4 or 5 years ago, right? Just everybody cloning the same dumb fixed supply contracts and just renaming it and find, search, replace with my new meme and different picture.
Well, it's funny because there's always one thing I refer back to from our projects. Our first project, Whelps. It still is the first dynamic NFT on Ethereum and then Polygon. All the code is transparent. There was no part of the evolution mechanic on chain that wasn't on chain or hidden. So when that did sell out back then in a day, for over $1 million at the time, we were like, okay, now there'll be a bunch of people copying this. They saw it sell out fast with almost no marketing. It sold out because of the novelty of it. So that one, it actually did work to catch some hype. Nobody copied it. Nobody copied it, even though it was just easy and the source code was there. and it's so strange. So I always wonder about
Copying something cool and novel? No, bro, I don't want to do that. I want to copy the same thing everyone else is doing.
And same with prices, right? We deal with a lot of them. Everyone's just forking the same battle-tested contracts, and a lot of them, their reason is, oh, people will trust it, it's battle-tested, but there's a lot of things they can improve in it and would make them more money, and they're just like, no, we'll just fork it and that's fine.
But Mr. Various, I'd have to iterate. I don't want to iterate. That takes work, brain power.
Well, I have a whole plan for a unified liquidity pool with infinite assets in it, and it would solve a lot of problems. The problem is I would need many millions of dollars to kick it off.
As with
Gotta
most
have
good
money.
liquidity pools.
Yeah.
Hey, just get a VC to fund you, you know?
Oh, yeah.
What's that Paradigm? Paradigm loves funding random nonsense.
Ship you to Wycom. That'll do it.
That's okay. We're getting closer to Asians, and they have a lot of money they want to blow. So
True. True.
Yeah, I'd honestly rather you sell the project to an AI agent VC anyway. That'll be more rational.
they probably ignore me too.
Okay, but I did hear a very interesting part of this, a topic, I would say. And maybe I'll ask this to Smiley first. Does it seem like crypto has lost its creativity recently?
Oh no, I think it's gotten more creative recently because you had to think outside the box. What worked before doesn't work now. Also, one of the reasons why I think this attracts me is because crypto's always been weird. It's different. It's strange. It's creative. I like the whole Wild West kind of, ethos. And so anything goes, that kind of applies, and I like to see people who just get out there that would never start their own business, would never get into crypto, would never launch a token, doing it because it's acceptable to do something different and wild and new, So I don't know if I would say that. I'm sure somebody else up here is going to disagree with me.
Yeah, me.
I agree. I like the Wild West aspect, and I feel like eventually it will be gone, so that will be a sad day.
Yeah, indeed. But I will definitely disagree. I do feel like we've seen a lot less creativity recently, mostly because people are kind of stuck on trying to recreate something that worked. Like an example would be restaking. One company did it, Eigenlayer. I honestly still don't know how to say it, so I'll just say Eigenlayer. And then we just saw restaking take off, and it was like 50 different projects the next week restaking. I was just like, that is so stupid and useless. And I think Nick just mentioned something to me where he staked ETH, he restaked ETH, he restaked ETH again, then he restaked it again, and then he restaked it again. So now where's his ETH? Which project holds his ETH? Which project technically has the ETH that you're supposed to get if he ever unstakes? It's like you kind of see that a lot in crypto, and that also makes it very interesting that no one copied Whelps, because Whelps is a really cool and novel concept, but I guess people don't like cool and novel. They just like boring and here's my new NFT project that I can pump out in 5 seconds because I went to this website that lets me do it.
Yeah, that was my gag. I love that gag. The gag starts with, I buy Ethereum. I trade Ethereum for Lido Ethereum. I deposit Lido Ethereum on Aave and borrow wrapped staked Ethereum.
Whoa.
I then take my wrapped staked Ethereum and I stake it with Eigenlayer. I re-stake my Eigenlayer with Hyperliquid, and then trade and get liquidated. Who has my ETH?
Oh, flip. Yeah, who has it?
Who has my ETH on the layer 1 at the bottom layer? I don't know. None of them know. I'll tell you that. And honestly, if you ask me, that's probably why ETH's price is $1,600.
Yeah, I can see it. Which is also another interesting thing. But maybe, Serenity, do you have anything to add on to anything that we've had a little bit of a chat about?
I'm still trying to figure out who's on first, just like in the crypto world. Like, who's on first? What? It's the same game. And, it's interesting because especially with, they're trying to recreate stuff that worked in the past, but that was in the past. It's not going to work now. And a lot of us have already seen that. So the only thing I see people are really going for is either completely new or, and those people are scared of because like, well, it's new. We haven't seen it before. So we're not going to invest in that. And so they're trying to find that middle ground on top of wondering, what's the government going to do? It's like, I mean, you never know up until just recently. It's like, oh man, you put this out, you're going to get sued, or you do that, you're sued. It's like, what do you do? And so I've seen a lot of people sit on their hands or try to reinvent technology. And I think that's great. It does need to evolve. It does need to grow. But the problem is the only people who actually understand it are people who have been in this space for 6, 8, 10 years. Because everything is these big long words and all these mathematical equations. Like, how does that work? So then you get the new people coming in and like, what is this? Like, oh, this is a new hot thing. Like, what does that even mean? I don't even get it. And so it's made it a really challenging market right now, trying to figure out what to do and how to evolve it. Honestly, I think what's really going to take off in the next evolution we're going to see is when you can streamline the process. How you can take your fiat currency, move it on the blockchain, put it to use, switch it back without ever having to do seed phrases, things like that. They've got to streamline that process. And I think that's the next major evolution we're going to be seeing.
There are solutions, though. Some of them are pretty good and pretty smooth and quick and easy. The thing is, they're not the big brand names. The big brand names, they're not using those ones. They're using, obviously, the ones they're in bed with. And those ones typically suck. So it makes it look like onboarding is still terrible. But there's absolutely small ones that work well. And even small things
Absolutely.
You can do. Yeah, like there's, for example, so many big sites still have the whole, you got to approve your USDC first, right, as a step. And then you got to go commit your transactions. And some of them do it even worse in multiple things.
And contract approvals create all sorts of vulnerabilities for bad guys who exploit later.
Yeah, and I can speak on the dev's behalf because we implemented this, a couple of weeks ago in Monstro. It had been on the to-do list forever, but it was way easier than I thought. It took like an hour of work to just make the relayer where now people click, they sign a signature. It's valid only for 10 minutes for their approval in case something happens and the transaction doesn't go through. If it does go through, it's the exact amount they're doing their action on, and then the approval's gone. And they don't have to pay gas on top of it. So it's literally
precise, it's temporary, it's gasless, it's an excellent solution.
And you look at massive companies, projects, marketplaces, exchanges, none of them are doing these small user-friendly tweaks that literally could take them an hour to do.
I suppose maybe we're going a little off topic with this, but for larger projects, they probably don't see the worth in it. They likely think of it, oh, I'm going to lose money if I do this, because doesn't Monstro technically then pay for the gas fees? So a larger project might look at that and be like,
you don't have to do it that way. There's other ways to still eliminate things like the approval pain points and whatnot. We chose to do that just because we wanted to, because it's so cheap on base. And, if we're paying like a fraction of a penny, if someone's investing a few $100, for us, it's well worth it.
Yeah, it increases total value locked, and the costs are minimized because of the layer 2 gas costs. So I see exactly his point. And it does wrap around to the original topic, to mindshare, at least in my mind as a market maven, because projects don't consider the end user experience almost ever, because they're stuck in a development silo and they're so intimately familiar with it. And they think that if they dump some docs to their community and dump a white paper to their community, that's enough to give the community a fully articulated technical understanding of how all of this stuff works. And that's just not how human brains work.
Yes! Go Nexus! Exactly! Thank you!
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've talked about this with Alpha so many times. They assume that all the burden on figuring it out should lie with the user, not with the developer, not with the project. And so many people get so frustrated they just give up. They're just not.
And some of them will literally say it in the group chat. They'll be like, we have beta testers. They're called users. But yeah, what were you saying, Various? I didn't catch it. I wanted to hear.
I heard something, I don't know, it was maybe a few months ago, but it was a study on the brain is changing over the years, right? And whereas, let's say when smartphones came out, people started losing the memory of, I'll remember people's phone numbers. I meet at a bar, I meet whatever. and still remember it hopefully the next morning. But instead, now all they have to know is, how do I put it in my phone? And then things like when search engines became, massive, like Google, the brain no longer had to do a whole bunch of things. All it had to learn and remember was, how do I use Google? And it says as that's developing more and more, small changes, because obviously massive changes in the brain would take, thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But all these small ones are actually 5 to 10 year changes that keep coming. And it's effectively making people less functional or less able to, read a paper and understand it. And now the step is going to be, well, I copy paste that paper in any AI tool, right? It'll tell me what I have to do. So I think that's pretty interesting from a science perspective.
It is interesting. That is actually it's kind of like people are slightly dumber in a sense. I know that's probably not the right word, but it kind of does. It's like you're dumbing yourself down to rely on external things more, in a sense, I guess. And I think we've seen that a lot lately, especially with like AI becoming a lot bigger. People are using AI for images, for videos, for understanding things, for writing their test papers, for writing their essays. Don't do that. That's bad. Write your own essays. Have the AI read over it to proofread you. Do that instead.
The norm in like 10 more years, and nobody ever writes for themselves. You'll say it's a lost art, right, at that point. But it won't be needed. I guess that's the point. That old saying, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. There'll be no more necessity. You won't have to think of, doing anything.
True.
Beautifully said.
So I'm going to throw in a ball because I know how much you love to argue on this. So, somebody could argue, however, though, we used to spend so much time trying to remember phone numbers and trying to do all this. Now we have freed up that time so we can go out and pursue our passions, what we love, instead of wasting it on menial tasks.
We've reallocated the brain space.
There you go. So is that what's going on perhaps here?
I don't know. I got a lot of friends who doom scroll with their time. Is that
Me too. I got community members I have to coach through like almost meditative exercises to keep them off TikTok, because there's like a compulsion for some of these people to spend hours per day, flick, flick, flick. And that does rot your attention span. And there are books and titles that we can recommend people who would like to reclaim their attention span. Perhaps the most noteworthy would be Cal Newport's Deep Work, which comes recommended by Columbia and New York Bear Stearns School of Business professors who teach this stuff.
interesting?
That is also very interesting. Okay.
I know I got to hop off in 5 minutes to go to something, but the word you just said triggered my last thing, which is way too different a topic. But I love seeing all the the Mandela effect stuff that's coming up, and more frequently. It's pretty interesting. So that's
yes. There's a lot of things we're all remembering about our past with rose-tinted goggles collectively that might not actually, in many cases, be true. And they could be such mundane, fine details as the spelling of a name. But much of this is being corrupted by the revision of history and a lot of people's memories. So we're going to see more of that.
You reminded me of that because you almost said Berenstein, right? And that's one of those popular ones that so many people remember a children's book being spelled one way, and there's 0 cases of it ever being spelled that way. The later ones are getting pretty creative. Like now, if someone ever asked you point to your heart, it'd be slightly left of center, right? Not anymore. Apparently now it's in the center of your body. You have new floating ribs and all these things people 30 and over don't remember.
Interesting.
It's true, though. I have those conversations every day.
Well, I want to thank you, Alpha, for having me on Alpha's Alpha, starring Alpha. Alpha Tryon.
Thank you for joining. I'm glad you could make it.
And anytime, and then thank the rest of you. Thank the rest of you guys. On Alpha's behalf, I thank the rest of you. but good to hang out with you is what I meant to say. And
You too, V.
Oh, I'm always glad to hang out with you, Various.
yeah, so we'll do it more often. We all have a lot of free time, right? Because we don't have to do much anymore.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad you could make it, and do enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sure we'll have another chat again very soon.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you should end the show by asking other people to drop some alpha.
Yes.
That should be the gimmick of the end of the show.
I think I might just do that. Do you have any alpha before you leave?
Too many to pick from right now, but let's just say yes. In Mon's show, we have 2 new products coming up, and one of them I think you know about, and one of them is new, and it's kind of more like a game. And for Serenity, it has a few of the early Nexus War mechanics in it.
Woohoo! All right, now I'm excited.
Ooh, I like that.
In celebration for Smiley.
Yay! Thank you.
All right, do it
Awesome.
again.
Thanks, Alpha. Very.
Various. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's my attention span. See, gone.
I'm glad you could join us at least. But now I do want to go into a slightly different, I've had this one hanging for a while. Now, a lot of what we see in crypto as marketing, we'll go back to that term, is and this actually ties in pretty well with this thing that's being very popular now, Kaito, is airdrops. So I would venture the question, are airdrops any good? Do they actually work? And are they really actually like something that anyone should actually pursue? Any project, any community, or like even a blockchain, should they pursue airdrops? Or is it just something that's kind of like, oh, you're going to do this, you're going to get a few people, maybe 1 million people are going to interact, and then they're just all going to fall off. They're never going to look at you again, and they're going to be like, I got my free money now.
With so many
beautiful
people
word.
come into crypto chasing free money, chasing the airdrop, because they're going to hear stories of the way it was done in prior cycles. And I put out an announcement today on Wallet Connect's airdrop, because Wallet Connect did a big airdrop for anyone who interacted with the Wallet Connect ecosystem with their wallet, hot or cold, and across all of your wallets on Ethereum. And if you did the airdrop criteria last year, you got allocated the tokens well before there was ever a market. So they were effectively zero at the moment you received them. But as of the past week, Wallet Connect now has markets. Wallet Connect tokens for governance on the Wallet Connect ecosystem now have markets on Binance, on KuCoin, on a bunch of exchanges, and in decentralized world on Optimism Chain. So I'm looking at the token, and it says it's worth nearly $2,000 for my allocation right now.
Whoa.
And they offer staking options for vesting your tokens for a variety of periods, from like a week to 6 months to 2 years. And I think that's great. So it's nice to see a group, a company transition almost in the same way Eric Voorhees and Shapeshift did, from a very centralized kind of crazy corporate infrastructure that's just we're all about profit. Now we're decentralizing everything. Now we're spreading all of the activity of a larger company across a much wider surface of a decentralized group of investors, it changes the relationship of an investor to the token, the investor to governance of whatever the entity is, whether it's actually a DAO or whether it's more of a wallet connection ecosystem with like Wallet Connect is doing. And it's just interesting, because I always thought of Wallet Connect as just a feature of having an Ethereum wallet. I never really thought of it as like this network of networks. But if you look at what they're doing, that's what they say they're trying to do. And if it works, if it does what it says on the tin, then Wallet Connect is going to be a little bit like Chainlink in a way. that like in the services and infrastructure it provides. It's really novel.
That is cool. That is actually that's very interesting too. I wonder, Serenity, I know you tend to get involved with a lot of like the airdrop things. You get a lot involved with nodes, especially things where you share your internet or you share your resources to get an allocation at TGE. What would you say about this? I feel like you probably have quite a bit of experience with these airdrops things. So do you think it's actually good? Does it work? Is it relevant though?
All good questions. And, it's kind of like Next was saying, there are some projects airdrops are amazing for. You're building a community. You're trying to test out, the software, the hardware, the functionality, things like that. And you don't really want to make people purchase something because you don't know if it's actually good yet or not. You got to work some bugs out. I think that's a great use for it. You offer these people, hey, help us test this, help us build this. And in turn, being part of this, testing process, we're going to reward you. I think that's totally fair. And I think that's a great use case for it. But then you see other ones say, hey, buy this NFT, stake it, hold it for 6 months, and you'll get an airdrop at that point in time when we make a token. No, that's an investment. That's not an airdrop. That's not what it should be utilized for. But I think if it's operated as a motivation to help build something or test something that has an actual utility, then I think it could be great. Now, some of those like where you're giving your computer resources. Most of us spend time, if you're doom scrolling, you're not using a lot of your resources. So if you can put those to work for you and make a few bucks on top of that, at least your time isn't totally wasted. Your brain might be, but your computer's actually doing something for you. And I think those are a great opportunity, especially if somebody's just getting into it. It doesn't require investment out of pocket. They can utilize hardware or resources they already have, and maybe they make a few bucks on it. You're not going to get rich, but hey, who knows? Maybe that token, you might make a few dollars worth of token. You sit on it for 6 months, a year, whatever, might go up. Like Nexus was talking, some of these airdrop, we don't even know we're doing. I've run into those with Jupiter. I ran into several different ones over the last few years.
Right.
Yeah, where it's like, hey, guess what? You used our platform. You did this. So here's an airdrop for helping us because we were building this on the back end. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Thank you.
And there's like a combination of pumping and dumping both ways that happens whenever this happens. Because there are people who are like, oh, they might do more airdrops. I need to buy it now. I need to start interacting now. So then a bunch of retail pile in thinking, oh, yeah, there'll be more. I'll get more. But the reality might be, oh, no, that was it. That was the distribution. Like you missed it. And now you're buying the top as everyone else is like, hey, free money.
Exactly. And it really brings about a lot of different feelings and emotions, especially in the people utilizing it. Like I said, Next, some people get into it after it's already launched and they're like, all right, it's going to go through the moon. It's like, no, dude, that was it. We were rewarding people who were here early.
Wait, what do you mean that was it? What do you mean I bought the top? What do you mean I'm down 70%?
No. Or you get these people that, maybe they went in with their resource, say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I know that Bob over here on his last airdrop got 10 grand. And then the airdrop comes around. They're like, hey, I got $50. Well, I got robbed. Why did you get robbed? I mean, was there a promise of a price? If so, then you're dumb enough to believe it because that's just stupid. Nobody knows what the price of anything is going to be. And if they say they do, they're lying straight up. That's just the way it is. And so, you go into these knowing that, hey, I'm going to do this A, B, C, D, and E. And from there, I'm going to earn some points or whatever for a future airdrop that may or may not occur. I just found out the other day personally, Nimble Network. I got into them about 6 months ago. I was using my graphics card stuff to mine Nimble tokens. All of a sudden, nope, no airdrop. Whoever it was ran away with the funds and said, nah, we're shutting it down. Like, that kind of sucks, but okay. There's nothing guaranteed. And if somebody is giving you a guarantee, they're lying to you. That's just the way it is.
Okay, that's very interesting there. People like to assume value before there is value already. I think I've seen that a lot, especially around airdrops. People will be like, oh, I'm farming this airdrop, which is another big thing in the crypto. And it's like, I suppose that's probably also a marketing thing in essence. So there's all these airdrop farming things. And there'll always be people that create a sort of speculation. They're like, oh, I'm farming this project and when the PGEs is going to be worth this amount. And then I'm going to make this amount of money. Half of the time, those people are just pulling numbers out of their arse, but they do it because it brings them attention towards that farming. It's like as long as you're getting that attention and the thing that you're farming for can see that, they're like, I don't care what I say, as long as it gets me attention. Just we see that quite a lot in crypto, unfortunately. But Smiley, you hardly interact with these kinds of things, right? So I do wonder what kind of perspective you have, actually.
Well, it's interesting because I've never actually received an airdrop ever in my life. All these years, never. In fact, Serenity used to keep telling me, "Hey, there's going to be an airdrop," and I'm like, "I didn't qualify."
Are you serious?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I never heard
a
that
couple of
before.
them I thought for sure I should have gotten. I've been on this chain for years. Nope. So it's kind of funny. So no, I don't really have any expectations, for that. I do have an issue.
That's just wild to me. I'm sorry. I can't believe it because I've just I get random tokens sometimes just for being a liquidity provider to a certain exchange. They'll be like, oh, we're doing an incentive for 2 months. We're just going to airdrop all of our liquidity providers a random amount weekly of arbitrary tokens. And I'm just like, you really? Well, I was sitting here providing liquidity for fees anyway, so y'all just giving me money on top of money. I made like $900 in 2024 providing Arbitrum, Arbitrum crap to Arbitrum dexes, and the dexes themselves were just like, oh, we're gonna give liquidity incentives via airdrop. We're just gonna do it straight to you every week, whatever. It's happening, and I'm just. I didn't ask for it. They just did it. So it's okay. You and I will have to talk off stream then at some point. We're gonna have to go hunting because I bet there's something you ain't claimed that you entitled to somewhere.
Thank you.
Okay.
Although I did get lucky once because Alpha told me about Encore that they were selling domain names, and I went and bought myself a name. I won $500 worth of core just by buying a $10 name. That was awesome.
Yep.
That was like my big win.
Yep. That was really cool. I remember that because I was like, do this, buy it quickly. I'm sending you the link. And then I was like, okay. She went and bought it. And then next thing I know, she's like, yo, I won. I'm like, what? I have like 5 names and I haven't won anything.
Well, at first
You didn't tell me about this, Alpha.
I thought it was a scam. I got an email saying you won $500 worth of core. I'm like, yeah, right. And then I had to go message the team. I had to find a legitimate contact and say, is this real? And they said, yes, it's actually real. I'm like, no way. Because I wonder how many people actually would get an email and think it's a scam and ignore it.
You would, because you know me pretty well. And I always drive home the point. Don't just click any random links or believe anything you get in your DMs, in your SMSs or emails. So, I was very proud that you came to me first and you were like, is this legit? I was like, shit, I don't know.
He was really hoping it wasn't, because you didn't win.
I was like, damn it, send me also an email. I was just out there crying. I did actually end up winning something afterwards, which is nice. I'm very glad for that. I did share it. I just don't know if I shared it everywhere because, I don't like just dropping links to the random people. It's like, that's suspicious. But, I digress. Now I can send Serenity something and be like, have a look at this. Let's see if it's any good. Because now he knows me very well. And he knows I'm not going to just randomly send some nonsense that I haven't had a look at yet. But okay, so
you just mixed with me.
yeah. So I suppose if we look at them, are airdrops any good? It depends on the context. And generally it is, because it can bring you initial users, it can help reward people that have been using your service for a while so that they think, okay, I'm going to continue using your service. Or like with Wallet Guard, you use, not Wallet Guard, Wallet Connect, you use it anyway, but now you're just going to feel more inclined to use it because you're like, damn, they gave me this free stuff. And it's like, thank you. I'm happy to continue using you. Now I'm only going to think of you in future, even if a competitor appears, which is actually a really cool way of, getting that mindshare. Mindshare is whether or not they are relevant in your mind. And I think that's just what it comes down to. So, and then we also have the other part where it's like you've been using a service like Jupiter, you get that airdrop. Everyone's like, holy god damn, I didn't know this was coming. Next thing you know, everyone wants to use Jupiter because it's like, whoa, they got an airdrop, I'm going to get an airdrop next year. And Jupiter did that this year. They airdropped again. So are they going to do it again next year? Who knows? But fact of the matter is, people are going to be more inclined to use it because there was those 2 airdrops. So it does technically get user acquisition and it has user retention. However, there is the caveat that if you're something that's still up and coming, you don't have a proper product that people haven't used yet, like Wayfinder as an example. What other airdrops have flopped recently? I think it was like Mega ETH, Beta Chain, and a few others. New chains do airdrops, but people are less likely to stick to a new chain because it's brand new. It doesn't have as many dApps. It's not something that they're familiar with. Now they have to do all this bridging. They have to go through all of these things. So cool. I used you because it was easy. You were on testnet. But now that it's more complicated, well, screw you. I'm just going to sell and get out. So it has that also where it's like it gets you that initial and then they just disappear. However, most of the time for things like that, they just want the users that they can go to a VC and raise 20 million. They don't give a damn about the users. They just want to raise 20 million to do with what they want. So in essence, I suppose we can say, are airdrops good? Yes. Do we like them being good? I don't. I will say that. I'm not a big fan of airdrops. And I know if Vieras was still here, he would also say no, because he does not like airdrops either. He finds them to be useless and a waste of money. But it's like, it also depends on the context of how you're doing it.
Yeah, remember Oro? He loved airdrops. He did them constantly, and he made quite a bit of money off of them as well. But he had to be really smart about it. I remember when I was talking to him, he was saying you really have to vet your airdrops and not just, tag on to every single thing out there. True,
definitely. And that's kind of what airdrop farmers tend to do, and it's kind of the culture that we see a lot on X right now.
Y'all are saying it, not me. This is refreshing. I could just sit here and listen.
Well, clearly we have an agreement on this at least. Damn it, I was supposed to be disagreeing with everything. I digress. So it's like we see a lot of people in this airdrop farming culture where they're just trying to hop onto every airdrop that they can. They hear of X project and they're like, oh, I have to go do this, and that. Oh no. Now I've heard a lot of people who do this actually get their account suspended, especially on X, because that's where most of the airdrop happens. The airdrop farming happens. People tend to get this account suspended quite often. Everyone's a little frozen for me. Okay, there we go. It's working again. So that's also another thing people should keep in mind. I think my network's lagging me for a second.
Uh-oh.
It's been
South African
And you're out of here. Okay. You need to take over.
I demand an end to digital apartheid now.
Yeah.
Let's not get into South African politics around internet. That's oh my goodness, that's a whole different conversation.
We're trying to make it better, bro. That's all we gotta say. We're trying to end the apartheid, bring South Africa in union with the rest of the world, free South Africa. And that's a political position. It's not endorsed by alphacruze.
Yes, not endorsed at all. Not at all. I have no idea he was going to say that.
Nope.
I will add, just to give a little perspective, South Africa's digital landscape is very horrible. Like, we only have like 6 service providers, ISPs, and they basically a mafia in a sense. They decide what the market price is going to be, and they don't change it. They don't give a damn. They will decide, oh, you're going to be paying $5 for a gig of data, and you can't change anything about that. You have to pay $5 for a bloody gig of data, which is insane.
That's nuts.
I know in the US it's very different, but yeah, oh my goodness, it's horrible. I think Serenity, you have like a gigabit line, right? If you were to get the gigabit line here, you'd probably be paying like upwards of $2,000-3,000.
Whoa, a month?
No.
Yeah, a month. They are
Wow.
insane.
That's why I don't move there.
Yeah, please don't get South African internet. They have,
We
yes,
need to make our own internet company.
as Nexus says, they have a complete price fixed monopoly. That is literally how it is in South Africa and a lot of African nations, actually. But that's completely off topic, so we will have to move along from that.
But it's relevant to the host, and I love my host, so I have to call it out when I see it.
Yeah.
Can
Hopefully
I
we'll
ask
get-
a question?
Go
And
ahead.
I'm totally going to admit that I am ignorant about this, but do you see, as a resident of South Africa, that marketing misses the mark for you in any way? I mean, unfortunately, a lot of my marketing that I've done for different projects come from a very Western US perspective. Does that totally ignore a huge segment of the globe and what their needs and wants are?
Most of the time, we only really see South African related marketing things, South African related things. But considering that crypto is global, sometimes I do look at everything as like, that's not going to appeal to South Africa because we don't have the kind of money that the US has. It's a classic thing of where someone would say, okay, $10, that's not a lot. South Africa, that's a lot. If I see $10, I'm like, that's a lot of money. I don't want to be paying $10 a month. Are you mad? That's insane.
So you wouldn't buy V's $20 burger, huh?
No, not a chance. I'm sorry. Unless that burger's made of gold, I'm not touching it. It has to be gold plated because what the hell are you talking about? $20 burger. By reference, I think it's like what? $1 for it's like $5 for a burger at McDonald's? A burger meal, actually? That's okay. It's still a little
I'm
pricey,
getting
but
robbed.
that's
It's
okay.
like $17 here, man. Yeah.
Meanwhile, one of my Gen chatters is spending $110 on a RAM stick from the Elder Scrolls Online servers. So, perspective.
Yeah, definitely perspective. Because I can buy a whole McFeast spicy meal with fries, a large Coke for it was 123 rand, so that would be $8.
Wow, food's cheaper for you than it is for me. I paid $9 last night for some freaking mozzarella sticks from White Castle.
Oh my goodness, nah. But mozzarella sticks are expensive.
And really that's where the airdrops come into play. I mean, if you get a $10 airdrop, for you, that's a lot of money.
A lot.
Us here in the States, $10 airdrop, seriously, that's almost insulting. And so I think that really goes back to that perspective of getting an airdrop. If you get $100 airdrop from Jupiter or something, man, you're probably living great. Like, oh my God, that's awesome. That's like a month of groceries. Where we're like, okay, that's 2 large pizzas. Oh, great, thanks. Doesn't change your life at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, definitely. It does come down to that. And I think that's also a large part of why the airdrop culture works. It's not always, US people that are doing these airdrops that are really focusing hard and going hard on it. I myself have a lot of Nigerian friends, and they have groups and servers of people that are just all from Nigeria or African countries that are sharing every kind of airdrop that they can think of that they found, because $100 for a Nigerian is a lot of money. Like, it's a lot of money for me, but that's like 3 months of food in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. For me, that's 2 weeks. But in Nigeria, that's like 3 months. Because I know a friend of mine that was like, I spend $50 a month on everything. I'm just like, I need at least $400. And that's cutting everything like really slim. But for him, it was like, that's a lot of money for me. That's like 4 months. It's like 8 months, actually. I was like, whoa, whoa. Cost of living really determines a lot on how these things work. And what makes it even more relevant is that a lot of airdrops exclude the US. Like, I've seen it a lot where most of the funding comes from the US. Most of the, like for things where you have to trade on a platform to get the airdrop, most of that, like 300 million worth of trading volume comes from people in the US, but then they get nothing. While people outside of the US are getting everything. So it's like, it really shows that, yes, the US might be providing most of the volume, but the people that benefit aren't from there generally, and are generally going to appreciate that a lot, that money, because it's like, yo, my food for the next 6 months is sorted.
And that's the sad thing here in the States. I mean, with everything going on, you're getting more and more unemployment, more and more people that are ending up in that homeless state. And it's sad to see, but it's definitely evolving to that point. I mean, even like myself here, where I'm not out cutting wires, being an electrician, and BTK, man, I'm so proud of you, brother, making sure that, hey, you're cutting down your food, but you're still doing your investment. And I think that's awesome. You are my hero, brother. Keep it up. But it gets very, very hard. And people are really trying to scrape anything they possibly can. They're looking for side jobs, mowing lawns, whatever they can do, just to make ends meet now. And I have no doubt we're going to be at that point where, yeah, those airdrops, that's keeping people alive and keeping food on the table.
Whoa. Yeah, definitely.
It is morbid to think about BTK, because that's my parents. A lot of people's grandparents we're talking about there. But the wealth transfer is going to happen. And the reality is that how many of us in the millennial or younger generation can actually afford, say, a house at the current market prices? No.
No.
And that's a worldwide problem, I'm sure. It's a problem here in the States. Buddy says it's a problem in Canada. Alpha, I'm sure, can confirm or deny if it's a problem in South Africa. But I'm sure that housing prices are a worldwide thing right now.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, no. Housing really is insanely expensive. It really is. Although, technically, if I had to go work for some American company for a few months, I could probably buy a house here.
Come to California!
It's worth noting.
Goodness. I wouldn't want to come to California. No, thank you. Isn't it like
There's more
$1,000 of
houses.
rent there?
There's more houses than there are people. And there's less than 21 million available Bitcoin to buy and sell. Worth noting. Worth noting.
True. True.
It's put in another perspective. Houses are poop coins. We need them. We rent them. We buy them. We give them to our kids, but they're poop coins.
They're not necessarily going to make you anything back, but Bitcoin can. I mean, that's why BTK is really Bitcoin purely. He's a pure Bitcoin person.
Yes, and that's the simple technical basis of Billy's strat. We love you, BTK. We love you, bro.
Yeah.
I will say, BTK does $10 a day. If I had a job, I don't work. I walked out of the work that I was doing because it was taking too much time. The equivalent for me in South Africa would be 10 rands worth of Bitcoin a day, which would be, I think, 50 cents. That would be the equivalent for me, because that's what would be realistically affordable in South Africa. At least where I am, in terms of the financial ring. But yeah, we will be ending soon. So I think we'll have to give some
let me give you some hopium. Before you kick into final remarks, let me give you some hopium. There are some really cool products being created, like the Heatbit Miner, which is a Bitcoin miner, but you use it to heat a room in your house or your bathroom when you're taking a bath. Like, that's the purpose of the device. It's not meant to be left 24 hours a day. But honestly, it's a good device. I got my hands on one finally after months and months of waiting, and produces about 10 terahashes while you're letting it run. And it has an optional heating element if the miner itself is not enough heat for you. So you can burn power to heat a room just like you traditionally would. Or you could just say, I just want it to mine. Do the eco-friendly thing. And you can do that, and you can make 15 cents for going to the bathroom.
Nice.
Whoa.
It's measured in sats.
I love Heatbit. I absolutely love it. It is such a cool concept, especially for winter. And I know the American winter is pretty intense, Canadian and American winter. So you have your heater, which you normally spend your electricity on anyway, but it's mining your Bitcoin. And doesn't it have a air purifier also built in? So you purify your air, you heat in up Urium, and you earn in sats.
Yes, it has
Say
a built-in
less.
air filter, and I didn't know this because they don't really advertise it, but once you download the app and you connect it up, not only does it tell you the quality of the air filter, like how disgusting it is from particles, matter, and all of that, but the device itself actually has an air quality monitor in it. So you can use it to measure the air quality of a room.
Nice.
It'll measure 2.5 millimeter particulate matter, 10 millimeter particulate matter, moisture levels, and a few other things on top. It will monitor all of those things, which frankly are super cool features that a lot of like workshops technically need because they're, sawing and welding and generating particulate matter. They need that stuff. So the idea that a device like this exists that can give small like workshop and small business shop people a way to heat themselves when it's cold in the winter, eco-friendly because the entire heating is done via Bitcoin mining if you choose, it all just saves money. And the filters themselves, it looks like you can replace them basically for $15, $20 max. So and I checked it. It's actually stupid easy to pull it out and put a new one in. It's absolutely great.
Whoa,
That's brilliant.
That is cool. That is really brilliant. I love that. Maybe we all just need a Heatbit in our lives. Although it's a little out of my kind of pocket range.
Well, it's the first. It's like the second generation right now. The first generation, I think, was $1,400 or $1,500 for basically Bitmain ASICs that are strapped to some fans. Is really what it was. But the second generation, they're calling it a mini. It's not mini. It's like a 30-pound device. It's still got 10 terahashes worth of mining power, which is less than the first generation, but there's a cost savings there. So they dropped the price from $1,500 to about $700 because they debuted the product during the bear run. But now that everything's up and the prices are up, they just raised the price to a flat $1,000. But you can still get discount codes from alphacruze and anyone else in this chat who has one.
Cool.
Nice.
BTK dropped his alpha already. Check out what QRL is. QRL.
I got it pulled up. We'll check it out right after the stream, BTK. Thank you, brother.
Awesome. I'm also going to have a look at that soon. Okay. So Nix has dropped Heatbit. Smiley, do you have anything to drop for us?
Just a smile. Keep smiling, everyone, and keep, reaching out to each other. Connect with people. Don't isolate yourself. You need people. We all need each other, and we all need to encourage and support each other because there's so many people out there that just feel, like Serenity said, hopeless. Like life is just getting you down. It's so heavy. It's so difficult. We feel like we don't have much of a future. Or it just looks bleak. So when you feel like that, reach out to Alpha, to me, to Serenity, to Nexus, because we're here for you. We want to talk to you. We want to listen to you. We want to communicate and support each other.
I love that.
Sorry, I don't have an airdrop.
What about you, Serenity? I know you always have all the alpha. I'm just over here always looking for the drama. That's mine.
Well, there's definitely some alpha. And actually, Alpha, you shared it with me, which is the latest mining possibility. Tari. How do you say that? Tari Universe. And it's listed over in the Down Home Crypto in the free to earn options. I made sure to put a link in there. But it's not necessarily alpha, but I want to give you guys just a little bit of secret that I'm working on that I'm probably not going to do a video on. You guys know I did an anyone router video recently. Got one. Had to restart of the fan. But here's the trick. A lot of these airdrop opportunities are required to have one airdrop running per IP address. Since that device actually pumps you through multiple IP addresses and spits you out somewhere else, I found out I can use that on a second computer to mine all those other free to earn opportunities. And it works on every single one except OpenLedger. OpenLedger. That's the only one it doesn't. So I now have 2 computers running those free to earn opportunities in the same room, but on the other end, it shows opposite IP addresses. So it's another way to use something you already have to try to earn a little bit more.
Cool.
Give it a go. I'm not going to do a video on it, and it might be a little on the so side, but it's not a VPS, so I guess I'm okay.
That is actually fantastic. Whoa.
Use what you got, brother.
True. Definitely got to use what you got. Unfortunately, I didn't bring Alpha into this conversation.
Yeah, you did. You're Alpha.
Yeah.
Y'all got me. But
You're the ultimate alpha.
Yes, sir. I would say definitely have a look at Tari. I came across it recently. It looks fantastic. Does require you to run it on your PC and give it some of, your GPU and CPU and all of those fun things. But it's freaking awesome. I think it's going to do very well. Other than that, I think, maybe have a look at Wayfinder. Apparently, it's going to be really cool. It's going to be something that's actually going to make crypto easier. I mean, that's really what we want. And they did an airdrop. And then if you haven't yet, have a look at Abstract Chain. I might not like them right now because of a few decisions they've made recently, but they are really cool. Their tech is awesome. And we're actually going to see
people are in survival mode. Where all the good alts are in survival mode, man. We need utility oxygen back in this room again.
Yeah, we definitely do. Maybe we'll find some cool utilities. I'll have to look. That reminds me that there is this really cool project called Limit Break that has the most novel concepts for smart contracts and tokens. It is absolutely mind-blowing when you look at what they've done and what they're trying to achieve. But that's a whole different kind of topic. Maybe people should have a look at that because that's really cool. I would say that's probably the coolest concept of things that I've seen in a while. But yeah, just have a look at some of these things. QRL, Wallet Connect token staking, Sorry, words escaped me for a second. And just always remember to have a little fun with things. Don't be too serious on it. Just enjoy yourself. Just don't lose all your money in the process.
Get serious, DM me and I'll put you in touch with crisis management people.
Yes. I think I know what you're talking about too. But thank you everyone for joining.
Who? There's like a dozen who's at this point.
No, there is, and I think I know most of them.
You know all of them.
I do keep track.
You know all of them. There's crisis a day with me, man. Crisis a day.
Okay. Serenity shared the link there for Atari, the airdrop. I've been playing with Monad testnet, hoping to get the airdrop from them eventually. Oh yeah, Monad is still kind of relevant, I guess. Go do the testnet stuff. It might be really good, it might not be good, but people are still doing the Monad testnet thing. So that's also a really cool bit of alpha there. If you haven't yet, get a little into Monad. They're on testnet. It doesn't cost you anything, literally. It's the testnet. Was it going to cost you time? Okay, maybe time. Fine. It's worth it to miss it on there. I think, I definitely agree. Monad has had a really good mindshare for a while, and it's purple. I don't like they stole my color, but it's fine. I forgive him. Now, thank you everyone for joining, and everyone that has watched and anyone that is catching the stream after the fact. It has been really cool. I think we've had a really awesome conversation. And if anyone wants to add anything on afterwards, please be my guest. I think Serenity's Discord down on crypto is always open. There's the link. I'll put it in the description of this after we are done here. Just join us, come have some fun, talk up to us, share what you have, and let's just have some fun with things. On that note, good night.
Absolutely. And if you've enjoyed this, guys, do us a favor. Make sure to click that like and subscribe button because Alpha's going to keep coming back, buddy. So click that bell icon and make sure you're here for every Alpha's Alpha.
Yes. Next week's also going to be very interesting.
Fun! Yay! Thank you so much,
Okay.
Alpha, for having me on the show.
I'm glad you could make it, and Nexus and Serenity. Sadly, Vedas had to drop off a little early, but very glad
You
to
got
have
it,
you
brother.
guys as our first guest on the premiere episode.
Thank you, Alpha. It's been awesome, brother.
Hell yeah.